Today my name is Nancy. So today I built the Ogham Stone, or in Irish as it's called Ogham Stone, because my good friend who's filming these sections, she needs one for her movies. Yeah, so first of all, take a look at the Ogham Stone. So there are many different Ogham Stone. I have been in Ireland and they have different shapes, they are in the museums, but this particular one is the one that Katya sent me a picture. So when you're building a sculpture, the most important thing is that you actually have a picture in front of you, so you know what you're building and you get an inspiration. So this is very light because it's a styrofoam. It's not a real stone, obviously, but it looks very real. So I bought a block of styrofoam. You can use styrofoams and put them together, but the problem with that is that you need a dense styrofoam. And you use other type of styrofoam. I have an example here. They are very fragile, so it wouldn't hold. So it's a dense one. All right, so the first thing you do when you have a block of styrofoam, you have to imagine the shape you want is inside your block. So you mark around your block. If you have a projector, it's very useful to project your object to the block, and then you draw the shape that you want. The next step is cutting. Alright, so this is a tool I use to do the major cuts. So this is electric cutter. You can actually buy it online. You can put it online if you want, if you're interested. They have a different shape and size, but this size works very well for me. It's electrical, so I use actually heat gloves just to be safe. You don't have to, but just for safety I did that. So I basically cut the shape where I had marked before, so like just pulling down. And you have the whole thing how I actually cut it. The most important thing for me was to avoid having any edges, because these are old stone, so old stone don't have any sharp edges, and this was a block from the beginning, which means you have sharp edges. So I made sure there is no sharp edges. I removed everything and I built the main shape. You always cut less the first time, and then you cut more and more until you get the shape you want. Because if you cut more from the beginning, then you might do a mistake. So it's better cut less and then cut more and more to the shape you want. So that was the first step. Okay, we don't use this anymore. So the next step was to use, guess what? Cheese grinder. Well, this is an industrial cheese grinder. Again, this was very dirt cheap from online. And what I did with this is cutting more the places that actually want to have more shape. But the other reason I used this was to give it texture. So again, this was a styrofoam block, but I didn't want to have any smooth surfaces. So I went through everywhere on all the surfaces and just scraped to make sure it's not smooth. So when I was done with this, I also used another brush, a steel brush, and I used the steel brush and pressed it in to get more of the dent in it. Because this is stone, so again, if you feel it with your finger, you can feel it goes up and down. It's not smooth at all. So that's how stone should be. So to texturizing, I push that metal brush everywhere. I did different strokes. Sometimes I stroke it, sometimes I press it. Actually, that's very good too, because you don't want to have all the strokes going in one direction, because that's not how real stones look like. So variation is the key here, all right? Next phase. So there is no Ogham Stone if you don't have markings on it. So these markings are based on a picture, the photo that Katya sent to me. So I mark them with a marker first, and I follow the picture. So I use the same heat gun, I just change the heading to this heading. There we go. And I just went through and make it deep markings everywhere that I had marked before with a pen, okay? So because this is hot and this is styrofoam, basically melts the styrofoam and you get carving. Very real looking carving, just like a real stone. That's very easy. It doesn't take effort at all because this is hot. Just make sure you protect your hands. So, as I said, we follow the picture for this part, but I thought I want to put a little bit of my own discovery in this stone. Hidden, you might say, maybe my signature. So, when I was in Ireland, I actually purchased Ogham Stone's writing. This is from an artist, we can put the artist in the credit. But one of the words that she uses is happiness. So I really like that. So I actually wrote happiness here. I know it looks like just lines, but that's how it was spelled. So yeah, we have happiness on stone here. There we go. Now to the fun part, painting. All right, so we have shape, we have carving, and we have texture. Yes, basic texture. But the main textures come when you're painting. So I always use black paint as a base, because when you paint everything black, then when you put highlight on it, everything shows more effectively that way. So I didn't just use paint. I mixed paint with some sand. You heard me right, sand. I actually picked it up from some beach, sandy beach. So I mixed the sand with the PVC glue and black paint. I also added some powder, like baby powder, I think it was, or yeah, cornstarch. And I mixed it with some very, very refined paper mache powder. So, now you're asking me why paper mache and why the whole sand? But what's better than a sand on something that you want to look like a stone? Also, sand has some salt in it, so it makes it actually a little bit like crystals that you have in a real stone. So it glows a little bit here and there. Not a glitter, just a little bit of glistening. Alright, so instead of paint, I had this paste, basically black paste with the sand involved and some paper mache in it. So I covered all of it in that black paint, but especially where it was carved. Don't forget the bottom neither, or the top, so you have to go through the whole thing. You can do that twice at least, so you get a very good texture. You have to wait between each paint because it has to dry. So that's very important, especially because you have paper mache. I didn't use a normal paper mache, I used a very refined powder, which was also quick drying. A little bit higher price, but very good quality. And I'm really happy I did that. Alright, when that was done, then I went to the color that you see. So I mixed black with white, so I get gray. I used dark gray first, painted, and then I used more white in it, so it was white with a little bit of gray in it. And that one, I used a sponge, and I sponged on the styrofoam instead of painting it. Because you don't want to cover everything, you just want to give it a highlight. Highlight should look like, you have to imagine if the light hits the stone where the highlight is going to be. And that's where you want your lighter color to be. Also, the lighter color brings out all the carvings as you see here. Because there is a photo you can see where it was just black. You basically cannot see the carving, but when you have a highlight, it pops up. And that's what we have our Ogham Stone. Ready for Katja's film? Alright, see you next time. Bye!